Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, this is GI. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. I'm here with Lori Smith. We are so glad that you've joined us this evening to talk about empowering underserved business communities. And we're going to be talking about capacity today. So give us a few more minutes and we're going to be right with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Facebook. Hello, LinkedIn. Hello, YouTube. And hello, Twitter. To demystifying government contracting. We are normally here every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's all about what? C4, connecting, collaborating, coaching, and celebrating the diverse small business community. But this week, because it's National Small Business Week, we've been going live every single day this week. And this is day 3. We started out on Sunday talking about giving just a little bit of overview. And Lori interviewed me. I want to invite Lori to say hello and greet everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on this evening. I'm very excited to hear what our illustrious host has in store for us on this evening. So welcome to tonight's session. So let's get this thing started.
Awesome. Let's get it started. Today, I want to do a little bit more engagement with the community. Lori and I have been talking, kind of doing, our philosophy, our views on the various 5 Cs of government contracting, at least the equity of government contracting. And that is, talks about culture. We talked about culture yesterday, had a great conversation about culture. And then today we're talking about capacity. That is all about, what is the vendor's capacity? What are the things that may be hindering diverse vendors from building capacity, from leveraging their capacity? And then tomorrow we're going to talk about capability. And then also after that, after Wednesday, on Thursday, we're going to talk about capital. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about compliance. So don't miss it. Please share this. Let's get started, Lori, and let's talk a little bit about how we got started and how long you've been with us before we go into some administrative remarks. And maybe that'll give some of our guests an opportunity to put their name of their business, the location, whatever their product or service is. And if you're looking for a teaming partner, if you're looking for an opportunity, closed mouths don't get fed. That's one of Lori's famous quotes. And, also people don't know what you're about or what you're looking for if you don't ask. So we want to use this space to help people to collaborate, to engage, follow those that may be in attendance, because if they are here, that means they are like-minded. So Lori, go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm going to mute, and then I'll be right back.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. I am Lori Smith. I am a former government contracting officer. I'm the CEO of Actionable LLC, but I'm also the program facilitator for Career Gateway Acquisition, which is a 9-month cohort with management concepts. I got started on the platform probably sometime around October, November timeframe-ish. I don't recall. I wasn't here for the inaugural launch of Michelle's platform. I joined the session one evening. I came to the stage as a first-time person, and then she invited me back after the fact. So I'll say I've probably been here since it's May now, probably roughly 6 to 7 months ish, or something along those lines. And I'm grateful to have had this opportunity to share, the little information that I know. Again, I only share from my experience based on, my service as a contracting officer, both in the Air Force as well as a civilian. As many of you may or may not be aware, aside from doing contracting in the Air Force, I also, when I retired, did contracting for DHS at the Florida Long-Term Recovery Office. Also came to DC on contract, actually, as a contractor working for CACI, then transitioned to federal government for Metcom as the CEO for the Fort Belvoir Community Hospital, which at that point in time, it was DeWitt Army Hospital that they had, and they was in the process of building the brand new facility that has been standing up probably for the past 10 years or so, the massive Fort Belvoir Community Hospital. And so I did that for about 5 years or so, and then I transitioned down to the Department of Veterans Affairs at the Strategic Acquisition Center. And there, I did various types of contracts, but most of them was predominantly service types contracts, although there was a commodity aspect to some of the requirements and the things that we did there as well, because we did strategic sourcing and enterprise-wide initiatives and efforts. And I retired from federal service in December 2020. And
Yay!
Since that time, I've been, working on my doctorate, shifting my mindset, just as we encourage everyone else to do when you're starting out a business, especially when you're going from one complex and or complicated shift or career to another. You have to make that transition. So there's a demarcation that you have to do to change your mindset as well, because you're no longer government. So you have to get into the mindset of the commercial space. And so I've been doing that for the past couple of years. And this year, I'm moving further and further out here, wading in the water. So I'm excited to be here and just share what I know. And that's all I can do. And I share when I say I share what I know, my hope is that I'm sharing also what can be verified and validated by going to check a source. So I try not to provide information that is not usable and or accurate, but it is from my perspective. So just a little bit about me.
Awesome. And you are an awesome you. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I do. Hey, Ralph, welcome. Want to welcome some of our guests. I see they're coming in. I know 7 o'clock sometime is a dinner hour, but we do want to welcome you. I do want to go over a few administrative remarks before we get started. First of all, this particular platform session, all views and opinions are those of the guest and not of the Department of Veteran Affairs, which is my 9 to 5 job. And we do want to say whatever information we give you, please check it out, trust, but verify. But please know that what we are sharing with you is based on our knowledge, our experience, and we want to build this community. And it starts with knowledge. And part of increasing the capacity of the community is about good evening, Nia. And part of increasing the capacity is all about knowledge. The more you know, the more capacity and capability you will have. And so, before we go on, I do want to say, please put your information in the chat. I'll give you some free marketing. I'll put your name and your company and location and certifications, the information I asked. I'm happy to display it on the screen. We'll also be selecting questions. If you have questions about capacity or just about equity in government contracting, period, we'll do that and put that on the screen and seek to answer those or provide valid resources. But I do want to ask you to put in the chat, because I want this to kind of be engaging this evening. What are some of the common barriers to increasing your capacity in government contracting? What are some of the common barriers to increasing your business capacity? Don't forget, again, to share this session. Invite others to come in and join us. But there's some barriers when it comes to underserved communities, when it comes to capacity. Now, before I'll give you time to think about that. Before we go on, I do want to say that this whole effort started in January of 2021, and I was asked to beta test LinkedIn's audio feature, and with that, they gave me early access. And I'd been on Clubhouse, which some of you may be familiar with, for about 18 months when LinkedIn started. And I said, if I've been given this opportunity to beta test this particular feature, I wanted to use it to serve the small and disadvantaged community, or the underserved community. And so that's how Demystifying Government Contracting got started. And that's why we've been live. I think we've only missed one time in a year of giving the community an opportunity to be part of creating not only a new culture, but having a conversation and helping uplift each other. So if you would please put in the chat, what do you think are some common barriers to underserved communities building capacity? Do you see anything in the chat yet, Lori?
No, there's nothing in the chat, but
Okay.
what I would want to say that as it relates to capacity, to give it a frame of reference, when we talk about capacity, especially as it relates to in the context of government contracting, what we're talking about is the company's ability to successfully perform a government contract. So this would include, you having the necessary resources, the necessary skills, your infrastructure, to meet the requirements of the contract, such as, delivering that product or services on time and within the budget. So that's some of the things when we think about, we're referring to when you think about capacity. And capacity also, refer to your ability to manage multiple contracts. I think if simultaneous, I think if you all have heard me say anything over time, I've often advised people to be mindful of the number of times that you have your name in lights on someone else's billboard, because if everybody wins, then what? Do you have the capacity to perform on those various contracts that you added your name to? And then also you want to be mindful of that as well. Aside from the fact sometimes people use your social economic status just to get the win, and they never come back and call you anyway. And that's a different thing. But when we talk about capacity, How many contracts can you perform simultaneously without stretching yourself through too thin? So those are some of the things you want to consider as well when you think about capacity.
Absolutely. And uh, I like what you say. You can't date everyone, as I tell my ladies oftentimes. You have to be selective, but when you are thinking about building your capacity, some of the things that you can think about are, partnerships, subcontracting, training and certification programs. There are CMMI and project project management certifications, ISO certifications. All of those can be very helpful for building your capacity. When we think about, one of the favorite things I love to think about is, you know, another way to build your capacity is, guess what? Look at how can I um, go deeper, not just wider, right? So if I am in the IT arena and there's several levels of certification and education, are there um, are there things that I can do to gain more information or more certifications? I have more intellectual capital on my team, looking to hire maybe 1099s that may give you, more capacity to handle business, but not necessarily uh, be something that would add to the bottom line. Because what I saw, I saw, I think it was who somebody said in here, that Ralph, funding to hire people and purchase inventory can be a limiting factor. What do you think about that, Lori?
Well, absolutely. Financial stability is very important, and it is something that is looked at when we talk about capacity. Also, what contractors have to be mindful of is and the capacity really come into play when that CEO has to make that responsibility determination up for a contractor. So, as an aspect of capacity, they're looking to assess. I mean, you send in their quote and or the proposal, everything's look good, but then there's another process, procedural thing that the CEO is required to do as a component of making the award. We have to determine that a contractor is responsible. So you have to make that responsibility determination. So you're looking at various things in addition to your technical competency, your financial stability. What do your credit scores reflect in DMB as well as in experience? So a lot of that goes into play as well. And so James, Ralph, I hope you had an opportunity to join us last week, when we were talking about financial, last month was Financial Literacy Month, and we had a session with Iman Cotton as relates to the different types of funding that's available through CDFI and CDC. So hopefully you found that information useful. And if not, please connect with Iman, because she'll be more than grateful to go over that information and share with you. But it is very important. And that's why also, you often encourage contractors, time you get started, make sure you have that infrastructure. You need to have some funding available to hire, because it's going to be 60 to 120 days potentially before you see anything from that government contract. So you got to be able to, move just in case, you do get that award. Nia also mentioned in here about bonding for construction projects,
Absolutely.
very important. And if you need a reference for bonding, Nia, just connect with me. I think we're connected via LinkedIn, and I can refer you to someone that I do know that do offer that service to contractors. But also another component of what Ralph talked about is, having that funding to buy products in advance, because when you're doing a product, most companies want their money when you place that order. They don't want to wait for the government to invoice you.
Unless you unless you negotiated that ahead of time.
Well, yes, that's what, and I was, getting to that. But again, they're all companies are not compelled or will negotiate with you, especially if you're new to the game, unless you've established yourself and they can determine you're otherwise credit worthy,
Mm-hmm.
getting that line of credit for those products is, sometimes not probable. And so, but it's very important that, you, again, if that's the business you want to be in, you got to also be able to fund those products earlier on, because that's the only way that a company is going to release them to you before the
Absolutely.
government to give them to you.
Absolutely. I know some companies are negotiating like net 90. I'll pay you in 90 days because they're expecting that the government or their client will have, you know, uh, um, be able to pay, or to say, hey, I'm a small business because I owe my supplier in 60 days. Can I, if I give you a better price, will you pay me in 30? What I'm really trying to do is just to help our small business community know that if you know the information and you know that there are opportunities to negotiate that would keep you in a better financial position or place you in a better financial position, negotiate those things early ahead of time, not when you're in crisis, because it's always hard to get money when you need money. What did you say, Ralph?
Ralph asked the question, how do you feel about using a personal guarantee on lines of credit? Sometimes that ends up being what it is. When you're establishing business credit, you go through these procedures and these processes. And although there'll be some say, oh, you only use your EIN and only do this and only do that. But when you get to that lending source, that's what they want. They want your personal information as well. Because again, they got to have something to rely on. But again, that's a business decision you make, and then you have to be disciplined to make sure that when things get back in right standing, you do what you need to do to always keep your personal credit whole. There are several lending sources that are out there that will do product, especially for products, that they will do the do purchase order lending funding. So there are those capabilities where you can do purchase order funding. So there are some resources that are available to you aside from doing a CDC or CDFI, and you just have to know them. And Ralph, if you send me a message on LinkedIn, I can connect you with a source that does that type of work, funding and lending as well. So, and they're
Great.
connected with Amazon as well, providing purchase order funding for those who are going through Amazon to get, so that people can get bigger and larger contracts.
Right, right. They and also I know they're doing it for those who may be in the e-commerce
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
arena as well. Yeah, so I do want to also ask, let's talk. One of the things that I think Ralph brought up, and then I also put in the chat, was about the lack of skilled labor. Let's talk about. You welcome, Ralph. Lori is absolutely amazing source of information and knowledge. Skilled labor. Now, when we talk about, increasing our capacity with skilled labor, I facilitate, I call it several CEO roundtables, and these are, I call it the big girls, not in size, but in revenue, all at the 15, $20 million and up. And don't think once you get in that arena that the challenge of skilled labor and hiring leaves you, because oftentimes if you want to make more money, you have to pay skilled people to manage these very either large projects or very technically detailed requirements. And I will tell you, it continues to be a challenge of how can I pay someone, uh, and I don't want to have to carry them right on my overhead because they may not be bringing revenue in. And some of those positions oftentimes are business development people. They are operations or, chief of staff, which then oftentimes may grow into a COO. It may be an accountant. At some point, the requirements and the reporting in your finances for contracts become large enough that you need to bring someone on, or you need to have what we call an outsourced CFO, or an outsourced HR person, or an outsourced business development person. Does any of you have you experienced that? Are you experiencing that? Who do I hire? So if I'm at $1 million, and I have done all I can with my hands or with my current staff, and who do I hire? What are some of those positions that you would say are a challenge that you are looking to hire, or that you're always are losing sleep over hiring the right person because it's going to cost you? Does anybody in the chat, if you have a response to skilled labor or limited experience with larger projects? We'll talk about that one next. Anybody have, are you in the process of hiring, or did you just hire someone? And, did you go 1099, or did you just decide, I'm going to take the bullet? Some people, I think Lori kind of mentioned this, and somebody else did, about placing their personal finances. Some people put a second mortgage on their house, and that has worked out well because they needed to pay payroll, or they needed to hire a specific type of skill set. All right. So I guess either y'all have already hired folks, or y'all have not yet hired people. But I will tell you, one of the things that I've seen is the 1099s are an outstanding way. If they're not if they're a 1099 as a individual, or outsourcing your HR, because I recently was talking with one of the COOs, and I will tell you what she said is, when both of these ladies are probably similar in revenue, but they both took a different approach. One decided, I'm going to outsource, and I'm just going to have one HR liaison person in-house, and I'm hiring an HR staffing person or staffing company that does all my benefits, that does all of my hiring and staffing kind of thing. And then I'm just keeping a liaison person in-house. Another one had hired an HR person and then only outsourced the benefits. So I'm just sharing with you that really it's about what works best, and not only to make sure that you're able to skill up quickly for larger and new opportunities, but also it's about your budget. What can you what can you afford? But I always say there's some things you cannot afford to do, because if you want to grow, you gotta spend the money. Somebody said, Nia said 1099 subcontractors for some construction services. Absolutely. And then Nia said she's had to use fractional accounting services instead of hiring. Exactly. So Nia seems to have had that experience. And any words of advice, Nia, that you would give to someone looking to hire 1099 contractors? You can put that in the chat as we then move on to limited experience with larger projects. And I'm going to ask Lori to give her perspective, because there's a lot of smart people, Lori, that we have that are very knowledgeable, skilled, but they, I always say you can only do as much as your hand, how far your hand can reach, right? And how much your brain can do. So, and I know as a hardworking woman with, working on her PhD, and then leading this new inaugural cohort for management concepts, and having your business on the side, and being a wife, mother. Your hands are always full. What advice would you share with the small businesses when it comes to limited experience? So I have done this project. Let's use Nia for example. I've done this small project. Maybe it's $1 million project. Now I'm trying to do a $10 million contract. But I have the skills, but I've just not done it at that scope and size. What advice would you give?
Well, again, what you do small, all you're going to do is replicate and expand upon it from a large perspective. So you still is not going to take away from your basic principles. So in everything that you do, there has to be a standard operating procedures. And so procedurally, you're going to do the same thing. But you also have to be mindful, I think, with a lot of contractors, and even with a lot that has been said. When we talk about capacity, if you outsource anything, if you whatever that component is, always be mindful. You still have to be able to articulate that story when you're submitting your proposal, because even that outsourced component becomes a component of your capacity when you're responding to a proposal. So it's okay to outsource it. It don't all have to be in-house, but you have to be able to establish, for this level of care, this is what I'm doing. This is the entity I have it with. Because again, you want to establish your procedures as viable, because it's about capacity, about responsibility. I want them to know I can do it. When it comes to limited skills in the community, or in the contracting arena, or in just general period, that is an issue. And so one of the things, when you in contracting, if an area is oversaturated with a need of a certain capability, there's always going to be a shortage. I used to tell people, when in the DC area, as you're aware, nursing and any kind of medical staffing was always critical, and it's hard to find, hard to fill on some of those occurrences. And when you think about it, aside from government, when I look, if 5 of the nation's top hospitals are in the DMV area, what do I expect? So it becomes, how creative do we become in recruiting? How, what is our outreach and foresight when you're building, or you want to scale? What are you thinking? So talent acquisition has to be as integral part of your business strategy as anything else. So you have to have a plan for how you're going to scale up, for not just making money, but hey, if I need to increase staff, and if I need to recruit differently, how do I approach recruitment from a different perspective? And maybe I have to start doing something in-house. So be creative. Can you do an internship program where you can start growing your own? And it becomes, how do I go about? So it becomes, how do you go about doing it? You just got to be very creative with the staffing, your knowledge, because you're only one person. It's great that and your expertise do count. It does matter, because you will always be able to understand clearly what the government has need of. Now you got to go and find a way to recruit. And it's really about encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone and come someplace else, to do the work. And so it is going to be even more creative now, in the fact that, everybody is loving this remote work concept. So
Yeah,
for those face-to-face issue occurrences, that's going to be a challenge.
I'm glad you mentioned about being creative, because the Department of Veteran Affairs has a program under their Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, which allows, and if you send me a DM, I'll send you a link to the website. But it, for 1 year, I think it's up to 1 year, can be from 6 months to 1 year. You can hire a service disabled, veteran owned, uh, um, not veteran owned. You can hire a service disabled veteran, and you have a job description. And if they agree they want to take that opportunity, you train them for 6 months to a year, and you get the opportunity to utilize their labor, and VA will pay them a stipend, and you pay them the other half of the salary. So, and there's no limit to the amount of um, you know veterans that you can bring on using this program. And for those of you who don't know, there's also Skill Bridge, which is another version of the program. The only difference is that with Skill Bridge, they're on active duty up to a year before they transition, and they get the opportunity to train with you and work with you. And then if you like them, they like you, it's a match made. Then they've gotten on the job training, and then you've gotten the benefit of having them help you achieve your business goals and efforts without having to pay a salary. So those are two ways, I think, to bring on some additional skill sets. Now, mind you, folks think I'm just gonna go get a veteran. I want to let y'all know these veterans are smart. They got master's degrees, so some of them may not want to do some of the things that you might go. This is something I just want. I don't really think it's important, but I'm gonna bring somebody on. This is really not that kind of program. These are highly educated people who have a lot of leadership experience, but very well could be a huge asset to your business. So that's another way to add to your capacity. Let me see comments. Okay. Can either of you, can I regarding suppliers? What do you mean by suppliers? Um, um, Tara, if you would be a little bit more specific, but yes, you can always um, reach out. I want to talk a little bit about, dating, right? And when I say dating, I mean, uh, teaming, joint ventures, mentor protege. And before I kind of talk about my view, I want Lori to kind of talk about as much as she feels comfortable, talk about mentor protege and joint ventures, and then I'll kind of tell you some things that I think are really important.
Well, for all of the programs, whether it be the mentor protege program or joint venture, or you're doing a team and partner, I think what Naya said in her chat is you're going to make sure that you vet them carefully and have you a good agreement in place. So whether that's a subcontracting agreement, a JV agreement, and or a mentor protege agreement. The program, there are policies that establish rules of engagements for either program. Success and compliance to the program is attributable to everyone operating in good faith. But at any point in time where a protege and or a mentee feel like they're being mistreated by the mentor, you need to report that. You also have to be mindful that some mentors seek out opportunities for proteges merely for the mentor to stay in the government's good graces or stay in the yard. And their overall intent and objective is to take advantage. And sometimes as mentees or proteges, or when we're doing subcontracting agreements, sometimes we're so excited and anxious to get into the space, we don't think through our decisions. So it's a decision that needs to be thought through. Any ounce of research that you can get, you need to review it before you jump in. Make sure that you run whatever kinds of checks on whomever you're thinking of doing business with. You want to vet them accordingly because, again, we can all come to the table dressed pretty. I often tell people, somebody say, "Oh, you look good for your age." And I was like, "Okay, don't touch me because that's just aesthetics, because I got some bones and some joints that don't work just right." So you touch it wrong. You saw the movie "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker," where the girl leg came out, kind of thing. I'm not that bad, but
funny.
You get trying to give you a visual so that you be mindful that sometimes things come nicely wrapped as a package, and once you start unveiling, it's not so much. So you always want to be careful, but they are good programs to have. make sure that whatever agreement you establish, you are adhering, and as well as everyone else is following through. Constant collaboration, constant communication, and you do the part you committed and you signed up to do. And just be mindful that the risk of it is if you get into these agreements and somebody's not pulling their fair share or pulling their weight, man, you don't want that contract to go bad, because especially in a JV kind of environment, all of y'all getting gonna get jacked up. So you don't want your past performance to be tied to anything that's not successful or not going right. And so make sure you keep the government and everybody abreast, and don't be afraid to do that. And that's the one thing you have to always do, is stand up for yourself. But I think they're great programs, and they do work when they are enter into with in good faith.
Absolutely. I want to tell a story. There was a CEO that came to me and said, Michelle, I don't understand. We signed this, teaming agreement with this company. They're a good company. They seem like they're awesome. They seem to really love us, but we haven't gotten any work. And I said, that seems strange. I said, can you read me the agreement? How many full-time employees does the contract say that you're going to get as part of the teaming agreement? And they said, oh, it reads, blah, 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 blah. We're going to get up to 10 FTEs. And I said, did you have your lawyer review the contract? She said, yes. I said, those those 2 words, up to is 0 to 10. So they have no obligation to give you any full-time employees. And this, when you're talking about butts and seat contracts, money comes, for those of you who don't know, money is gained through butts and seats contract through the number of full-time employees that you share with the prime on that contract. The second thing, if you don't know, the most important position on a contract when teaming is the program manager position, because the program manager position is a position that's normally a key personnel position. Two, it is highly paid, and that position is in charge of ensuring the success of the entire contract. So if you don't have that, if you have that program manager position, and I'll tell you another story. A sub had the PM position because they were, the SDVOSB. PM was looking at porn and doing other stuff, on a government computer. The government discovered it, came in, said, you got to go. HR and folks escorted that person out immediately. Well, the prime said, oh, sorry, we're going to snatch that PM position for ourselves. And that can equate to $500,000, depending on what the size of the contract is. Because although some of these program managers may make 200 grand, right? The company, when it factors in benefits and other things, really could be, it could be priced or could be making a profit of, and this is just, theoretical, anywhere from 100 to 200,000 on that particular contract. So just knowing, when you are negotiating on these teaming contracts, know what skill you're bringing, and also, know that uh, that you are, have to do your due diligence and really read every word. And unless you are going into that teaming contract as a strategic opportunity, that means I know I'm not going to make any money on this contract. I'm going in teaming with them. I may break even, but guess what? There is another contract that we're teaming on where I'm going to be the lead and make money. But otherwise, you should be making money if you're bringing intellectual capital, technical skills to the I should call it the union of teaming, the teaming union. There should be some gain in it for you. Um, we're at 7:42. We got about 17 minutes. Do you have any questions, comments that you want to put in the chat? And Lori, did you have any comments on what I said while we're waiting to see if folks got some
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some questions that are in the chat as well, but the comment to some of the things that you said, one of the things that you always want to be mindful of is, again, whatever RFP you are being asked to team with on, read it for yourself. Look to see what is the requirement for the subcontracting or small business participation. If the government tells them that, hey, you can submit a previously approved subcontracting agreement, they can, I mean, I would question that contractor to see if that's what they're going to do. Because if you team and partner with someone, even though it could be asking for small business participation goals and things in that contract, if they can submit something that's already previously approved, they may not submit anything that includes you. So you want to ask questions and know what questions to ask. And if you committed to something and they claim they're going to include you, again, that's why your agreement needs to be detailed. I want to see everything you sending in regarding this solicitation. I want to be at the table listening in on what the government tell you. Copy me on this here so that they'll reply all and copy me as well. I mean, those are the agreements you make, and that's when you know that somebody is really going to operate with you from a fair and equitable place. Now, Ralph, to your point as to are there any issues with labor overseas? Overseas contracts and requirements will be a little different. You would want to look to see, one, what country is the contract located in, because there are going to be some rules of engagement as to contracting, where there may be a host nation agreement or some type of agreement the U.S. have with that company that determines, even from contracts, how many people they have to hire or what they have to do for rules of engagements. So any rules of engagements as it relates to hiring is going to be specified into some of the documents and the policies you got to adhere to in the contract, and it should be listed. But a lot of companies have successfully recruited for overseas labor, namely because you get that tax benefit if you're an American working over there. And folks, and the salaries tend to be a little bit higher, aside from the fact that a lot of these contracts really provide them everything, and they really just got to go show up and work and get a salary and just be a roommate with somebody potentially. So it all depends on where you at. You just find out what are the rules and what's the expectations. But hiring overseas tend not to be as probably challenging for some, depending on location, especially because people like to go overseas. So you may have to pay more if you're in a horrible place. But other than that, it's going to depend on what the host nation agreements are about hiring people over there. And I tried to put that in the chat, but it said I went over my 280 characters, which all these limitations on things. But, yeah.
No, so true. I also would think that if there were any requirements, oftentimes you'll see, are these folks registered? Are they sponsored? Right? Labor might be some of the things also that need to be considered.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, if you go to the USAID Office of Small Business website, about doing business overseas and utilizing, connections or possible teaming partners from overseas. They have a lot of good information there. So as we begin to wrap up and go down down to 8 o'clock, we talked about some of the challenges of capacity. Has to do with resources, skills, that may be in high demand, or expensive to obtain, and that we may be looking at the possibility of outsourcing, or 1099, uh, some of those particular skill sets. Also, we talked about how do you increase your capacity of your people, right? That you can increase the capacity of your business by investing in training and certifications for your people, as well as your business, when it comes to like ISO 9000, PMP, CMMI, and other kinds of certification. And then we ended up where we started talking about teaming and joint ventures and subcontracting agreements. I think one of the things we didn't talk about, and really I'm not up on the latest, but the mentor protege program. You got the SBA mentor protege program. I think Army has a mentor protege program, and I know there's several agencies that have mentor protege programs. Let me see. Somebody, Nia says, does the teaming partners need to be identified during the sources sought or RFP stage? That's for you, Lori.
A sources sought is really just looking to see who's in the industry, in the market that can do it. So not necessarily for sources sought unless they provide specific questions they want you to respond to. When you're doing an RFP, if you're a small business, again, if you're teaming and you're bringing someone in, the expectation is you're hopefully bringing someone in that can provide that level of past performance you don't have, but they do. So in that vein, yes, you want to include, they're going to be included in that RFP, because that's how you are establishing, one, that you're responsible, that you have the capacity to do it. And then from a past performance perspective, now you're establishing that you're relevant, and the risk and or confidence level is going to be low, indicating that there's a likelihood that you will be successful on that. So anytime you are going to sub work and submit it, if you cannot do the capabilities totally in-house, and you cannot, or you don't have nothing to submit to qualify as well as quantify your effort, and you are going to use teaming, include that information in your RFP, because that's what's going to give you standing. So, but if you're a small business, you don't necessarily have to subcontract. There's no requirement for that. But what you want to do is make sure your proposal is complete and articulate just how you're going to meet the government's needs. And some overseas projects do require bonding, Kathy. And so again, anytime bonding is required, the clauses as well as the term will be specified in the contract. The clause is a fill-in clause. It would also specify and communicate to you the dollar value that your bonding needs to be. And so, but prior to that, another component of, again, making sure you are postured to do business is engaging a surety entity prior to the need to determine to what level you can be bonded. And so that's going to mean that you got to have a legit business in place. You're going to have some financial records or something for them to review, because they got to establish that it's like getting insurance. Nobody's going to give you car insurance if you got jacked up credit. It's just how it is. And you can't call the general for everything. I'm just saying.
Girl, stop. Just stop. Hey, you can call Shaq. Shaq might give you a
general ain't doing surety bonding. Ain't doing bonding. Not that kind of bonding.
You're hilarious. You're hilarious. Y'all, she is just a hoot. And isn't she amazing? I'm so honored that Lori has decided, agreed to take this journey with me this week, all about, increasing opportunities for, underserved communities. I do want to I do want to mention, I think I sent it to you, Lori, that today GSA launched a new tool around helping equity folks, underserved communities gain more access. I think I sent that to you. Let me see if I can find it here. I wanted to put the website in the. I wanted to put the website in the chat. Did you? Let me see if I can find it quickly. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's called the government, the GovWide Procurement Equity Tool.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link. Yeah, I'm gonna put the link in the chat here so that folks can pick it up. I've not played around with it, but I'm sure they're launching it this week for the National Small Business Week. I want to thank you for spending this time with us. How many of you, can you put a number in the chat to tell us how many sessions you've attended? This is day number 3. We're going all the way to day 7. And I want to offer something, Lori, for someone who attends 6 out of 7 of the sessions. We're gonna offer something. I'm gonna offer something, and you can tell me if you want to match it. Um, and but I'm gonna give a 1-hour strategy session free. So Nia's been here 2 days. Okay, hey, go keep going. Come on, Nia. And so we and oh, Tara says it's your first. It's all right, Tara. Come on, girl. We're glad that you're here. But if you join us every single day, and you have to say that you say something in the chat to let us know, and hold me accountable, Lori. Uh, and then on Saturday, we'll let everybody know who won, and I'll give you a 1-hour strategy session. Thank you, Kathy, for joining. Thank you, Tara, Nia. Where's James? Oh, Ralph James. Yep. Thank you all so much for joining tonight. Any last words? Wrap up while I try to get this link in the chat, and then I'll come behind you, Lori. Thank you.
Okay. Again, if there's any questions, please reach out, Raf. I do, Ania, is that Raf and Tara? I know you all are going to be wanting the information as regards to Amazon factoring. I probably ain't clear about that, so just send me.
And if you would put that in the chat even after we close, just so the community who may listen on their on the replay.
Yeah. But I will upload the information about purchase order financing. I do know Amazon has one of the government contracts for the big contracts that I think Overstock and someone else got those contracts as well. And so I'll see what information that I can find on that. But I will put it in the chat and or send this to you all personally. Rafa and Tara, those are the two that I asked for the information and make sure that you have it. And then also to Michelle points earlier about the various programs, Skill Bridge and the other programs that are out there. There's also opportunities where, when we're having these veterans career fairs, there's agencies that actually host and put those on. And I do have a contact and a connect that is looking to do that here soon as well. So that could be another opportunity for recruitment as well. When you're looking for folks with special skill sets and bringing special people on board, and then too, well, they can't work on government contracts. Some of them can't. I was going to think about the justice impacted or the impacted people, but I'll have to see what kind of clearance they will have to in order to do that. But veterans most definitely, if there's nothing in their background that precludes them otherwise, but they're a good source for employment as well.
Great. Well, another super evening, ladies and gentlemen, here with a special segment of demystifying government contracting. where we are celebrating the National Small Business Week by going live every day this week for an hour. And it's the whole week is called Empowering Underserved Business Communities, Empowering the Underserved Business Community. And each day we've been talking about one of the 5 Cs. We talked on Monday, we talked about culture. Today, we talked about capacity. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about capability. On Thursday, we're going to talk about capital. On Friday, we're going to talk about compliance. All of these things are so important to the community and are based on Executive Order 13985 and the challenge that the President Biden gave to the entire federal government for them, one, to increase the vendor base of underserved vendors doing new business with the government. And what that means is while we have increased the amount of money we're spending with small businesses, we're spending it with the same small businesses. And I'm going to do this. I need to get the numbers for all the diverse communities, but African American businesses have less than 2% of the government, a little under 2% of government contracts, but make up of the large majority of the underserved community vendors. The next thing it did was it challenged federal agencies to gather data about the vendors, the diverse vendors. It challenged them to remove barriers and burdens and to engage in a different way. So we'll be talking about these things all in an effort to build a community that's more knowledgeable and more allow you to be enabled and give you more access and opportunities. I'm Michelle Gardner-Ince. It's been my absolute distinct pleasure to spend time and space with you. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be right here. And for that, I say thank you, and I never take it for granted. I don't take my amazing co-moderator and facilitator, Lori Smith, for granted. I'm honored that you've joined me, and we will see you when? Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be talking about capability, which is huge, huge, huge for vendors, and is a challenge. And we want to have a conversation that makes you think about it differently. I want to say good night and thank you again.
Thank you all for joining. Good night.
Good night.